In this rehab video, we're going to have a look at shoulder impingement, or swimmer's shoulder as some people refer to it as. Shoulder impingement is when people get a pain or a catching type feeling within the shoulder joint. It can happen just below the acromion bone, which is the pointy or bony bit that you can feel on the top of your shoulder, especially when we're rotating our shoulders. Weightlifters or people who bench press quite a lot can experience this as well. Obviously swimmers are quite a high risk because there's a lot of rotation. Racket sports also can struggle with this a lot, so the rotation with tennis or any type of racket sport like badminton and squash as well. For this video, we've got a few little bits of equipment. So I've got a very light weight that I can grab hold of. This is just a 2.5 kilogram plate. So the movement we're going to do for that isn't very strong movement. I have 2 kettlebells. These are 6 kilograms. All you need is 2 similar weights. So you can use something at home. You can also use the band for that as well. And then I do have a resistance band that I will be using towards the end. So the first few movements, we don't need any equipment for. What we're going to do is go into the prone position, so lying on our fronts. From here, we want to put our arms out to the side, elbows just slightly below shoulders. And then from there, we just want to squeeze our shoulder blades together and just lift our hands back off. And we want to hold that for 3 to 4 seconds and then relax back down. Imagine there's a tennis ball between your 2 shoulder blades and you're just trying to squeeze that tennis ball. And again, hold and then relax back down. We're going to repeat that for 3 reps. And then from there, similar movement. So we're going to squeeze and go up. We're going to keep squeezing as we lift our hands above our head. So pushing hands and elbows forward, going out as far as we can and coming back. I'm trying to keep my hands up all the time and trying to keep my hands, wrists and elbows level. And again, holding, so still squeezing my scapulars as I move forward. And again, we're repeating this 3 times, trying to keep breathing throughout and back down. If you are getting a severe pinch at some point throughout this movement, you want to try and just get to the point that it starts to pinch each time and then come back. And you should find that each time you move forward, you're able to go a little bit further before the pinching kicks in. Really keep that squeeze on your shoulder blades as we're going up and we're coming back down. From here, we're then going to relax down. We're going to bring our elbow up so it's level with our shoulder. And then we're just going to try and externally rotate our hands. So just bringing our wrist and our hand off the floor. Obviously, we're doing this on the affected side, but I would heavily advise working both. If you've got it in one side, you're probably at quite a high risk of getting it at the other. So it's good prehab to prevent the injury before you get it. We want to do this 5 times. And then from there, we just want to drop our hand onto our back. So that we're going to internally rotate this time, place our hand on our lower back. And then relax back to neutral, and then again, rotate and onto our back. From there, we can then just try and lift off our hand, and then relax back down into neutral, and then go again onto our back and lift off. If you can't physically lift it off, as long as you're engaging the muscle to try and get that movement to occur, so even if you're just lifting your elbow up a little bit, keep working on it until you can get that hand completely away from your back. And again, 5 times throughout. If you prefer, you can alternate. So you can go into the external rotation, and then you can go straight into the internal rotation onto your back. Repeat that on both sides. Obviously focusing on the side that is sore, but I really would recommend doing both. The next exercise, we're going to come on to using the band. So you want to start holding the band more towards the outside. The more in or the closer your hands together are, the more difficult this is going to be. So to start with, starting right at the edge, and then I'm just going to put my hands together, and then again squeezing my scapula. So imagine there's a tennis ball, and I'm just squeezing that tennis ball with my shoulder blades as I come out on the band. Nice, strong, fluid, controlled motion. And I'm going to do 5 of these. I should really feel my shoulder blades working here. Just trying to get those posterior muscle and that rotator cuff engaged and working nicely. So you go for 5 reps, and then relax back down. Depending on the strength of the band, or depend on how close you can have your hands together. If you're not feeling a little bit of a burn and a fatigue, try and bring your hands a little bit closer together just to get more resistance on the band. This is quite a strong band, so my hands are quite far towards the edge. From here, we're going to do a very similar movement, but this time we're going to take it all the way back over our head. So we're going to go straight out in front of us. This time start with your hands apart, and then just put a little squeeze onto the band. Push our hands up and squeeze. Try and keep your elbows straight whilst you're doing this. You don't want your elbows to start bending. Go up and come out. And you want to go all the way as far back around as you can. Really nice chest opener, this one. And keep squeezing out on the band as we do that. If you find a certain point that is quite sticky, just stay around that point and move your hands over to each side. Go forward and back a little bit and just get those shoulders moving and get that range of motion going. Should again start to feel that rotator cuff, so just behind your shoulder, starting to work quite nicely now. So getting a little bit of fatigue just as the muscles activate. And again, take it all the way back down and then come back down to the front, and we can repeat that a few times as well. Quite a good warm up for swimming in this as well, so just get those shoulders and that chest nice and opened. From here, we're then going to go into our rotational movements. So again, you grab your light weight, so this is only 2.5 kilograms. To start off, you can use something like a bag of sugar, so literally just grab a bag of sugar and off you go with this movement. I'm going to bring my elbow up so it's in line with my shoulder, very similar to when I was lying. Start with the weight at the bottom, and then from there, try and keep your elbow as stable as you can, and you're just going to externally rotate all the way up, and then internally rotate down. It's really important to control that weight as you're bringing it back down. So don't do the external rotation and then just let it drop. You want your rotator cuff to be controlling that internal rotation. And again, go round as far as you can. You should find that you're able to get so your arm is completely vertical that way and also that way. Again, with shoulder impingement, you might not be able to start with, but keep working on it. We're going to go for 5 reps each hand. Again, work both sides. So bring your elbow up in line with your shoulder and rotate all the way around, trying to get to vertical each side. And again, go for 5 reps on each side. You'll feel this fatigue quite quickly. Although it's not a very heavy weight, it's not a hugely strong movement for the body. Okay, and we're going to do 2 sets. So go back onto your right hand side and repeat. Again, amend the weight to whatever you think is comfortable. So it should be light enough that you're able to do that movement, keep your shoulder and elbow in line, but it should also start to feel it towards the last couple of reps. Just working the shoulder nicely. We're not trying to get an extreme burn, and we're not trying to go to failure. We're focusing on correct form, correct movement, and just the last couple of reps, we're just starting to feel the muscles working. So last one on our left hand side, and again, everything is nice and slow and controlled. Control that weight on the way back down. So for 3, 4, and 5. Next exercise, we're going to come up onto our feet. So this is where the kettlebells will kick in, or whatever weights you have. We're going to go into a nice solid position. So we want to keep our core really, really tight for this one. We're going to bend over, drop down so our arms are straight, and then we're just going to pull up on one of the weights. So I'm going to start on my left, and I want to really tuck my elbow into my body and squeeze up. Pause at the top, get a nice big squeeze. And again, we're going for 5, 3, 4, and 5. We should feel that a little bit in our lower back, and we should feel it starting to work up and around again, that shoulder blade area. Trying to keep my core nice and tight so I'm not rotating around. My hips are staying nice and level, abs are on strong, and I'm staying nice and tight with my core. So again, up with my right, keeping that elbow tucked in. So really pulling with the shoulder for 5 reps. and 2 sets. So repeat on my left. Really working that rotator cuff nicely, and again, nice and slow on the way back down as well, so we're still getting that eccentric movement. Amend your weights if it's too heavy, if it's not heavy enough. Same thing as before, you should feel the last couple of reps, just getting a little bit of fatigue into the muscle. Nothing too drastic, you should be able to complete that with good form, but just enough to know that you're working the muscles. The last exercise we're going to do is going to be a variation of a push-up. So we're going to go into the push-up position. We don't want to be repeating loads of reps from the push-up because that can put a lot of stress on the rotator cuff. But what we are going to do is make it slightly dynamic. So if I turn to face you for this one, so I'm going into the press-up position. To start with, before I actually bend my elbows, I'm just going to rotate left and right with my body, just to get that stabilization of the shoulders. And then, depending on if this is too painful for you or not, you're then going to go into the press-up position, and you're going to do the same thing. So to start with, I'm just going to go half the way down, hold there, and rotate left and right. Again, I'm keeping my core stable, and the movement is coming from my shoulders. Each time, have a little bit of a rest off. Try and do as many reps as you can without failing. So you want it to be nice, smooth movements, nice and control. If you can do sort of 6 on each side, so go 3 to each side, and then have a relax off and go again. Either increase the reps at the height here or in the middle, or if you feel like you're strong enough to and can do and not getting pain in the shoulder, go all the way down. So again, core nice and tight, not actually touching the bottom, so still supporting with my arms. And again, I'm just moving left and right. And again, try and get 3 reps on each side, 6 in total. And then back up to the middle. Last couple of movements we're going to do, just to relax off that rotator cuff group, is I'm going to place my hands, or my palms on my hands, on the back of my hips, just here. And I'm going to try and again squeeze my shoulder blades together, and I should feel that nicely open in the chest, and a nice bit of internal rotation for the shoulder. From there, I'm going to bring my hands out in front of me and go straight across my chest, and I'm using my opposite hand just to pull that elbow in. And really let that roll round, so let your shoulder blade come round and move, and then relax off and swap hands. And we can repeat through that 2 or 3 times. So hands on our back, squeezing the shoulder blades together, trying to push our shoulder blades down a little bit as well. And then come up, arm across your chest. Okay, I hope those exercises help. Try and do them 2 to 3 times a week initially. It's quite a good warm-up. If you are still swimming, or if you are using your shoulders quite a lot, it's a nice little warm-up to do as well. So if you're just about to get in the pool or in the lake, try and do those exercises. Really, really nice for strengthening that rotator cuff, engaging the muscle properly, and trying to get rid of that catchy or pinchy type feeling that you're getting in your shoulder. Hope that helps. Hope you enjoyed those exercises in that video, and look out for more content coming soon.